how did you pick the small consultancy? Why didn't you go with one of the big four?
Yeah.
Whereas if the big four makes a mistake, you're like, yeah, but I picked one of the big four.
Exactly. So it's feel bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and at that stage, EY wanted to start up their advisory business again.
Okay.
Because they sold their advisory business, and they decided they wanted to get the advisory business back, and then they wanted to get some actuaries into the insurance side of things.
Okay.
Long story short, and then in the end, we actually sold the business to EY, the Columbia business, and Leapfrog separated from us, and at that stage, Stephen went back into full-time actually lecturing, and only Alex and I went into Ernst & Young.
Okay. And then within Ernst & Young, what were the various positions that you played? Because you left EY as partners, the two of you. So how did you sort of climb up the ranks to that level?
Yeah, so, I mean, Alex went in immediately as a partner. Mm-hmm. It was part of the sale. I went in as a AD, an associate director, and I had just had my second child.
Okay.
I was actually, when we did the sale, I was pregnant on maternity. I was on a maternity leave, actually. Mm-hmm. So I had this vision in my head that I was going to work less. And then, therefore, I didn't take the partner position, and I took the AD position.
Okay.
That lasted for a very short period of time because I realized that it just didn't work well.
Okay.
I was working just as hard just at night when everyone was sleeping and just getting a
reduced
salary. Yes. Yeah. And then about I think it was about 9 months after that, I was also a partner at EY.
Okay.
Working full time again, and Alex looked after the whole of the actuarial practice, but he focused on the life side at that stage, and I looked after short-term actuarial practice. And by the time we left, basically, I think, again, actuaries were new for EY in South Africa.
Nice.
But the inherent insurance knowledge that we have and the contacts that we had at the C-suite level then resulted in us actually looking after. When I left, I was looking after short-term insurance in totality for the continent.
Sure. And for our listeners, because a lot of our listeners are students, what is the role of a partner in a consultancy? What is sort of like your key KPIs?
You have to bring in money. Yes. So the main thing is you've got these partnerships are very weird things. They run, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but they are run on a total cash basis. So it's a very interesting kind of way of thinking about things. It's not a very long-term, you don't have a very long-term view.
Yeah.
So at the end of every year, all the cash is stripped out of the business. They then take a bank loan to fund cash flow for the next year.
Sure.
So because partners never know, they want to be rewarded for all their efforts this year in cash.
Sure.
So they don't want any of that money to go over to next year because who knows what they're going to be doing.
Yeah.
And they don't want not to benefit from that. So it's a very interesting business model. So it's very much more short-term focused.
Yes.
And what revenue are you bringing in today, and how strong is your pipeline of revenue into the future?
Yeah.
So it's very much focused on that. And your role as a partner is to land business.
So having a good network is really important.
Yes. You have to land the business and then get the teams to run with it. And then you also quality control. So you do the relationship with the client. If anything goes wrong, it's your head on the line. So if anything is wrong, or if anyone makes a mistake, or anyone, it's on you. Yeah.
So now I want to talk about the transition from EY to Naked. So I think that's when I first met you, because you hired me to start in EY, but the time between when you hired me and when I started, you then left to start Naked. And I think it would be really interesting to talk through, how did that come about? Like, when did you start thinking about that? And that must be quite a big leap of sort of faith in yourselves, because you were stepping out and starting a completely new entity. How did you go about that?
At the time at EY, we actually learned a lot, to be honest. And Because at Quindium, we dealt with a big portion of the market, but we didn't always deal with the largest of the market because of the fact that we are more smaller, niche kind of consultancy. So at EY, we dealt a lot with small, large, and the largest. And a lot of the work we did very often is they wanted us to help them with strategy for the new digital customer.
Yes.
And so I remember the last one that we did that didn't get implemented. And it started becoming, because we did so much work around that, it started becoming quite clear to us what the opportunity was.
Yes.
And it also started to become quite clear to us that for a variety of reasons, whether it is being risk averse, and I can expand on that if you would like, or legacy systems, it's very hard for the incumbent players to actually execute on a strategy like that.
Yeah.
And we had, I think, especially myself, and I think Alex and Ernie as well, have come to a point, and my husband always says it's a midlife crisis, whereas it started feeling as though what I was doing was not a good life. If I was to die...
That meaning that you spoke about earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's always been, I think, in order to be happy and in order to feel as though you are making...
A difference.
Contributing. Yeah, you have to contribute. You must say, this is my contribution. If your whole life and most of your waking life, you're just spending trying to, maximize income or whatever, I don't actually think that's a good life.
I agree.
And if you one day on your deathbed and you think about your contribution that you've made over your life, if that's your contribution, I couldn't face that. It just didn't feel right to me. I mean, there's a lot of other elements that contribute to happiness as well, your personal relationships, all those kind of things as well. But this whole thing of being useful, I think is central in my philosophy of living a good life. Yeah, it wasn't feeling like that for me anymore. So I was very much looking out for opportunities to do something else. At that stage, and basically, I remember my husband guy that was like, so do you think insurance is not needed because that's the only skill that you've got? And I'm like, he said, what are you going to do? Are you going to start like an Airbnb? And I'm like, no. And I told him, actually, I do think insurance is needed. And I just think that if we didn't have insurance, especially in countries like South Africa, to actually get the economy to grow and for sustainability, insurance is like essential to that.
Agreed.
I mean, if you look at any of the big disasters, if insurance were there to help, all of us would be poorer for it.
Yeah.
So he said, I know, so that's cool. And so then why don't you want to be in insurance anymore? So I told him, because at EY we also did lots of surveys about people's feeling or general sentiment about the food industry.
Yeah.
But it's different industries. Yeah. So it was always a race to the bottom. It was either us that was at the bottom, short-term insurance, or pharmaceuticals, by the way.
Right.
So it's like, and then you stop telling people what you do.
Yes.
So he said, can't you do something about that? Why is that like that? And then that, together with the fact that we saw this opportunity for digital.
Yes.
We thought there was something there, because then we started thinking, why is it like that? It's like that because of the way in which insurance companies make money.
Yeah.
The lower your claims, the bigger your profit.
Yes.
And it's not a story of people being evil. Humans are just that way. You do what you're incentivized to do.
100%.
If your bonus is going to go up by 50,000, if you can get your loss ratio below this,
you'll do everything in your power. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So then we thought, well, there's an opportunity to actually set up a business that doesn't operate in that way, that operates more like a technology company, that takes a subscription fee, and that we can actually attract market share in a very overtraded market through bringing product to market in a very different way that not only addresses this desire that people have to not speak to someone and do their stuff whenever they want to.
Exactly.
But also have the additional benefit, because we shouldn't be naive. Insurance is all about price. No one is going to come to you for the pleasant experience.
Agreed.
They will still go to the cheapest person. And then the cool thing about it is the technology also helps you to bring product to market a lot cheaper.
Yeah. So you've spoken about sort of the vision there, but what were the practicalities?
How do we do it?
Yeah, how did you do it? Because, I mean, you obviously left the security of what UI was. You had to find capital to sort of set up the business, and it was the three of you that started it. And how did you also divide the roles? And, I mean, how did you go about the practicalities?
Again, we were very lucky. I always tell people we were just super lucky. I remember when we started talking to people. So at that stage, Ernest was no longer at EY.
Okay.
He'd actually jumped ship a while ago. He was actually at an insurance company in George.
Okay.
So we started talking about it, and as we started talking about it, everyone told us we were never going to get funding for it. It's impossible. You won't get funding for it. And also, you can't really get anything off the ground while you're working at a professional firm like EY, because anything that you do is then owned by them.
Exactly.
So we couldn't start on anything. Why I say we're lucky is over the years, even when we started Quindium, Hollard was one of our anchor clients.
Okay.
Nick Kohler at that stage ran the life company, and he wants all of us to come and work for Hollard and not start our own thing. And then we said we didn't want to. We wanted to do our own thing.
Yeah.
Then he said, well, we'll be your anchor client.
Sure.
Until you build up your client base. So we were very lucky around that. And over the years, we have done a lot of work for the Hollard group.
Yeah.
I was on the board of Itana.
Sure.
I was on the reinsurance committee, and there I was lucky enough to meet Richard Enthoven and spend time with him.
Sure.
And I did quite a bit of work at Lombard, and at that stage, A.D. Enthoven was their chairman, and I got to know him, and we did a lot of due diligence work with Yellowwoods.
Okay.
When they were acquiring, for example, Virgin, I was part of the team with Gavin and Scott.
Sure.
So they're not really a VC in the VC sense, but they do help companies start. And they're excellent partners. So first thing we thought is let's test the water with people that we know. See what they think about it. So we came and chatted to Nick Kohler about our idea. And he then said maybe we should talk to Gavin and Scott. And went to go talk to Gavin and Scott. They liked what we were saying. And then they said, write up like a one-pager. We'll send that through to Richard and A.D.
Sure.
And we were lucky enough to get some angel funding from them to start. Yeah. So, yeah, that's why I always tell people, I think the most important things in your career, we would never have been able to do this because insurance is a very capital-hungry thing. Yeah. If we didn't have the relationships that we had, and if you didn't have the reputation we had. So always look after your reputation. You never know when you're going to work with that person again. You know, when you leave a job, always make sure that they think of you fondly. Yes. And they would want to work with you again. Yeah. Even if you hate them. Yeah. You don't. Yeah, you're always professional. You always do a good job. And we were lucky. And that's where we got actually the funding. Then the other thing I should say, I think we were quite naive about what the impact would be on our personal finances.
I'm sure, because you probably didn't draw much from the business while you were setting it up.
Yes, so it does take a big knock to your personal finances. So if you ever do decide to do something like this, and you do have a family, it's really important that your partners, and we were quite good with that. We had to sit down with our partners and make sure they fully understand what the implications is and what the belt tightening is. And we actually also thought through what is the worst that can happen if this doesn't work. Yes. Can we live with that? Yes. We have to move back into a flat. Yes. And have one car or no cars. Are we comfortable with that? Yeah. We have to put that to your partner. They need to buy in. Because as much as you're going through this journey, it's hard on them as well, and it's hard on your family as well. So it was really super important for us to get them on board. Yeah.
And not also to mention the hours it takes to build a business, right? So there's sacrifices on numerous different levels.
Exactly, because it's not like a job. My job still doesn't feel like a job. I love it, though. I do. I absolutely love my job. It's more like a hobby. I'm permanently thinking about it. All of us are. Whether it's weekends, it doesn't feel like a job. Yeah. So,
which
that
actually addressed that problem of meaning, which I think you said you were experiencing towards the end of your time at
Correct. And then I think the third thing that convinced us then, so now we had the money and we got the partners on board, is the way in which